So floral design, the basics part 2. Today we're going to be using a couple different flowers. So we're going to use 6 tulips, 4 roses, 6 daffodils, and about half to 3/4 of pittosporum, which is the greenery over there. Important thing about flowers is that you're going to want to keep everything in water as much as possible. I said this in my last class too, but if you have flowers out of water for a while, they dehydrate pretty fast. So if it's for, like, let's say you're working on a big project and you do something like a wedding and it's taking you 20 minutes to do like an arrangement and you keep getting sidetracked, keep them out of water, you kind of lose your product, right? So I'm just going to go over our basic designs here. So here's a triangle and a circle. So with the triangle and the circle, I know you weren't thinking you were doing math or anything like that, but you want to keep like all the flowers that you're using in that regard. So if you have, let's say, like 3 roses, you're going to want to, I'm just going to pretend like we're doing like a bouquet here for 1 second. So let's say you're doing a bouquet, you're going to want to do like a triangle pattern with your 3 roses. See kind of how that looks? All right, so the reason why you want to do this is because you don't want any flowers to be right next to each other when you're mixing a bouquet, so you don't want any kissing flowers. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they first start off with making flowers. And then with the circle aspect, the circle aspect, you want to do like flowers around the triangle. So if you had, let's say, 4 daffodils, you want them to be intermixed with the roses, and then you would do like maybe 1 daffodil in the center. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the greenery, you always start out with the greenery in the center and then you work around that.
Yeah, so greenery actually is one of the most important aspects of flower design, especially when you're doing like vase arrangements. So greenery locks in flowers, and that's what makes flowers hold. So I don't know if you've maybe dabbled with making flowers in a vase before, and maybe like you put them in but they always fall over, or like they all go to, same. Like when I first started out, that's kind of like, how come I can't get it to lock in? So greenery is really important with everything, even with a bouquet. Last week, and I was kind of telling Donna about this too, I did like a bouquet class, and I go over why it's really important, and I kind of show what I did with a bouquet and why it's important too. So I can show you that link too after this class. So why don't we get started? So let's start with maybe cozy bowl. That's the easiest one. So that's the one with the edge. All right, and if you guys need more greenery too, just let me know. I have some extra. So this is my lovely drawing of this vase. So what you want to do is kind of picture where about half this vase would be. So that'd be like right about here. And then take that half, you go right up here. And so that's right where the greenery should be. And as you can see, that's kind of where I'm putting that too. And then if you picture another half after you do your greenery, that should be like where your flowers should be. So I'll demonstrate that. With your pittosporum, you'll notice this, these weird kind of branches off of it. If you're ever doing some flowers and you buy this greenery from a florist, it's always better to pluck that off. But since I'm not really sure how much greenery we're going to exactly use, I'm going to say that let's keep it on for right now. A lot of times too, if you're short on greenery, make these the stems. When you cut this off, so you cut 2 parts of the branches off usually, make this a little bit shorter to kind of help plug in the vase. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to measure the vase. I'll say right about here. You're going to want to peel off the leaves. Cool. And you don't want any leaves in the vase at all, just because it will start to rot a little bit, and you don't want that either. So I'm actually going to cut this a little bit shorter. And you want it to be right about that height. So if you see this is about half the vase, this is about half the vase. So I'm going to keep going. And if you want, you can start, and I can stop in the middle and help you.
Okay, that one seems hot.
So I know Donna was saying that she has a garden at home. Do you have a garden too?
With flowers, you mean, like peonies?
Yeah. Oh, not like greenery, but do you have like daffodils, tulips?
No, in fact, we're just re-landscaping right now.
Are you?
Trying to figure out what we are going to do.
Oh, cool.
I did that one. Oh, well.
Do you live in the Waterford area?
Yeah, town of Waterford.
Town of Waterford?
The boonies.
So that one piece that you got there, you might want to cut it a little shorter.
Yeah.
Yep, right about there.
Can I use this?
Yeah, you can use that. Actually, a florist once told me when I was working, when I was first starting out, that sometimes if you have branches that kind of have two segments, sometimes it's best to keep the two segments on. That helps lock in and fill in more space, so you use less greenery.
Ah, so I shouldn't have cut that one apart.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, it still fits fine. And I like that you guys are going a little bit on the taller side. That's usually better if you do it that way instead of going shorter, because once you cut it too short, you know, then you've gone too far. You can't fix it.
Is there anything with cutting it diagonal?
Yep.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. Actually, that's how I kind of learned. So, like, if you see, I'm going to just take this branch off here. Since we're going to be putting your your greenery in sideways to lock it in more. That's what usually helps. So if you if you cut it that way, you put it in sideways. That gives you the exact height that you need. So that's a good trick. But taller, here, I'll show you what I have.
Wow, yours looks like nice and tufty, doesn't it?
Yeah, so you definitely want it to be like a little bit more bushy, if that makes sense.
So we had more?
And along the edge. So I would actually just cut a couple of these down a little bit. You can have like a couple of shorter and taller pieces, and that helps.
Makes it more round.
Yeah, and then again, I would just, sorry, I would pull this out and I'll just take off those greens just because of mold in there.
Oh, I see you take off even more than I would have, okay.
Yeah, so anything, oh, sorry.
No.
Any leaves that are in the flower, you don't want that. In the
Oh my
vase,
gosh,
I
it
mean.
makes such a big difference.
Yeah. So what you're going to want to do is have like, this one is the perfect size. You're going to have one more like about that size and then maybe two more shorter ones. Yeah.
You
Sometimes
can
it's
tell,
like a feel.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say. You probably did it so often you can go, oh yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
I don't think I need this one. I'd maybe cut this one just a little shorter. On the taller side right here. So you could, why don't you cut off this branch here? You can see that this one is taller than the others, right?
Yep.
So in fact, you could even just cut it like right here, and you'd be fine.
Oh, cut off.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to clean up my area too a little bit, so it's just a little bit easier to see. Yeah, you don't want like ice cold water because that can actually shock the flowers a little bit and kill them. And you don't. Yeah. And then actually, I just kind of thought about this the other day. If you ever have peonies like in your yard and they're just not opening for you, and you cut them, you can. A little trick of the trade is that you can put it in hot water in a vase and suffocate them. So what you're going to want to do is have like either like a grocery bag, like some sort of plastic bag, put it over the peonies and then put like a rubber band around the bag to like tighten it up. And within like a day and a half, it'll open. Another trick too, and this one I'm really scared about doing myself, but I've seen other florists do it. They'll take their peonies and they'll smash it on the on the table, or even worse, they'll take a hammer and they'll start smashing it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's gonna snap, you know, but that works too.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So flowers, a lot of people think it's very fragile, but not always, you know. All right. So we're doing 6 tulips, 4 roses, 6 daffodils, and we did our greenery, and you guys did awesome. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. So pick out your tallest flower and the most prettiest bud. So you're gonna wanna kind of measure like we did with greenery, but you wanna make it a little bit taller. So since we did half of the greens, this is what our, half the base for the greens, that's where our greens are right now. Now we want to do the next level up. So I'm gonna show you right about where it should be.
Like about there? Is that where we're talking, or closer to the greens?
A little closer to the greens. Yep. So I would go at an angle because it's going to be going into as an angle.
Mm-hmm.
But right about there is right where you want it. And if you go a little taller, that's okay. You have a triangle and a circle. So the roses are going to be like in a triangle shape. Okay. And then, or actually not a triangle shape, a four shape. So what you're going to do is have like one in the center, which is that first rose that we put in. And then you're going to have three on the bottom level of your vase. So that's something I can talk about too. With levels, there's like different ways you can do arrangements. So let's say you had like 12 dozen roses, right? So you can have like maybe one rose on top, then 2 roses below that rose, and then maybe like 4 roses beyond that, and then I believe like 5 roses on the lower level. So there's 2 different like decks, or not, 4 different decks you're doing an arrangement. So with this arrangement, we have about like maybe 2 to 3 different decks. So we can just move right along. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never thought of this stuff.
Yeah. I know, it's more science than what you think it is.
So these next 3 should be just a tad bit shorter?
Yep.
First, from the side.
Yep.
And you want it to be so that.
And just hold it at like a feather.
Ouch.
Oh, did your thorn get you? You guys have never done this before?
No.
You guys are doing really awesome.
Well, you're teaching us a lot.
Just kind of. Whatever.
That's really good.
You think so?
I do, yeah, because like you don't want it to be like next to each other, and you don't want it to be all these different lengths. And I think when you're starting your arrangements in the future, with your like flower gardens or like stuff that you get from your garden or just for fun, you're always going to want to do something like that. So good job.
Thanks.
I mean, in the future too, I'll give you guys my email address, and you can just ask me any questions along the way too. If you want to continue practicing this at home or anything like that. All right, so let's start with our next flower. We are going to do tulips. Now with the reason why we're doing tulips instead of daffodils petals tend to get really damaged if they get messed around with too much. So the tulips are a little bit better of an option. Since we have 6, you're going to want to do 2 up here and or 3 up here, sorry, and then 3 down here. And another thing that you could do too, if you want, like if you can do it however you'd like to do it, but you can also do 2 and 4 down here. So whatever you think looks best.
And then height-wise?
Height-wise, always use the top rows as your guide. So you don't want anything above that rows. Yes. Do you have a question?
Well, I'm just going to wait to see where
Sure.
that first one goes.
Definitely.
Because
And if you break in your tulips, I got 2 left over here. But another nice thing with tulips is that if it, let's say it snapped right here, you can still put that in your vase and it'll grow. It's really cool. So you want to be right about there.
okay.
A little bit below the top of your rose.
This is going to be way too long.
Should take these up and cut them all at the same time, because I'm guessing with each one.
Another thing that helps too is that if you put it in different areas, sometimes like let's say I put in all my tulips, but you notice like 2 bald spots right here, you're going to want to like move stuff around if you need to. So if we had 2 tulips that were really close to each other, you might want to take that one out and then put it right where the bald spot is. Do you ladies have any flower questions in general? No? If you do, you can always ask me at any time. Like I said, you can have my email. You guys will like this tip too. This is what's crazy florist told me. She's not crazy. But she said she used to work at a flower shop ever since she was 16 years old. I would say she's close to like her early 50s. And she said that like one florist told her that if your tulips are kind of bending all over the place, take a shot of vodka and you put that in like a vase of water, and then you wrap the tulips in paper, and that'll help them shoot back up. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
Yeah. So she would always joke like, you put a little of vodka in the vase, and then you take a little for yourself. You know?
1, 2, 3.
No, Mrs. Harry from around here in Waterford.
No.
A little store that's now closed called the Cedar Shack. And
Oh.
she was
I know
very,
who you're talking about.
she was very talented.
And with your tulips too, it might be better just because when you take it home, you'll get to enjoy it a little bit longer before cutting them down again. You might want to cut them on like a little bit of the shorter side. I think what the heights that you all have, both of you have, looks really great. But I would maybe cut them all down just a little bit just because it'll grow a little bit, and then it'll still look pretty well arranged. So you notice here, there's like a line right here. So you're going to want to, this is your tallest rows. Like right there, you always want to keep it where there's a triangle and one in the center. And then with your tulips, I would just, again, just cut them down a little bit shorter. Sometimes too, if your flowers are kind of going all over the place, sometimes it might mean that you have too many greens or not enough greens. So for mine, I've noticed that this one's kind of coming down a little bit. So I'm just going to add another little piece of greenery here, and that'll pop that up a little bit.
Stand up, buddy. I'm losing my.
Well, you know, you still got your triangle here. So you got added your 3 tulips here. I would cut this down and do like the lower deck here. Greenery out because you want the flowers to be above the greenery mostly. But
So
your
the
overall
flowers
shape's good.
should- Oh, I see.
Yeah, so they should try, like you should try to have it, I mean, like peeking up
Yep.
a little bit above the green. Oh boy.
You get to do it again in a littler vase.
I'd buy hers, I wouldn't buy mine.
I'd say like cut this one down a little bit shorter again. In this, we are doing 6 daffodils. So with this one too, you're going to want to do like maybe 3 on top, 3 on the bottom, or 2 on top and 4 on the bottom. So just like you did with your not daffodils, your tulips, just cut it like that too. Just notice, this is where it's really important that you hold it like this, because this will split pretty easily, because it's a kind of like a tube flower, and that makes it harder to put in the vase.
Now, are these pretty close to height already, or?
Yeah, some of them are, and the nice thing actually with bulbs is that if you ever get bulbs from the grocery store or your florist, you don't have to cut them. So that's nice. Most flowers you do have to cut them. Shoot. Keep dropping this.
All right, let me get it in.
Yeah, really.
You gotta be careful with those tulips too, because those can snap pretty well. If you want, sometimes if you have like a lot of greenery, you can kind of just lift up the greenery a little bit from the rim. That'll help you get that flower in too. It kind of helps move the greens a little bit.
Lifting out, like the greeneries are lifting all
Yeah,
out the...
so if you lift it up a little bit like this, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to put that in there. I don't know if you can kind of see me doing that. And then make sure that you spin your arrangement around a little bit to make sure that's all evenly placed.
It's like I'm...
Then you would probably want one like right here.
On the upper level, so a little higher.
Yep. Beautiful. Yeah, I'd actually even say like cut this one just like a hair shorter. And do you guys have iPhones? Or, yeah? If you want, you can take a picture before we move on. You can even take a picture of mine.
So what flower lasts the longest?
Out of that, I would say maybe like the roses.
I meant in general.
Oh, in general. Mums or
Mums.
like alstroemeria. It's usually pretty long-lasting flowers. Flowers that wilt pretty fast would be,
Daffodils.
yeah, probably daffodils. They probably last like maybe 4 days. Yeah, I would say anything that's like a bulk flower usually doesn't last as long. Tulips are funny. They grow a little bit, but after a while they do get a little slimy and they'll start to tilt a little bit. So, all right, so now we're going to take our arrangements apart and we're going to move on to the next one. I know.
Just lift or...
So I would just take one out carefully, just because those daffodils and tulips are snap pretty easily. So I'll start with the roses.
Should you put them, oh, yeah, I was gonna say, put them back in that big vase.
Yeah. And you can actually put them in the shorter stems that you have in that posy bowl, because we're going to be taking out those greens too. I'll show you guys this. This is probably splits like that. When you put it in the greenery, it splits more, and then you kind of lose your stem. So that's what's kind of tricky with those. All right, so let's move on. So the same way that we did with this, some of your pieces of greenery might be long enough for this. So you might want to cut some of them down again, but we're just going to practice arranging one more time. So if you want to go ahead and start greening that in. Maybe you need some more greenery, just let me know. I do have a couple of sprigs left over here.
I like that.
So you don't have enough greens in, you're going to want to add like more on this side and shorter pieces.
So do I use this?
Greenery. If you want to maybe cut this like right here, and then on the shorter side, and then you can use this stem too. Let's start with our roses again. Pick out the tallest from your bunch and best bud. All right, and if you need to cut it down a little bit, but kind of like what we did with the posy bowl, perfect. I've had to teach this to a couple of people, and they'll start with too many tall greens or too many short greens. And you guys are kind of getting right at the best spot you need to be at.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of relaxing too.
I agree.
Yeah.
But you're explaining everything, and it's so logical, but I never thought like this.
Yeah. I know, there's definitely like an art to it. So you're going to, Catherine, you're going to want to take those, I'm going to have you step back here for a second. I want you to look at your roses. Okay, are they all on one level?
These should be probably cut down.
They should, I don't know about cut down, but you could even be better if you take them out and then put them more in diagonal toward the bottom.
Ah. Hmm.
Yep, you got a good shape for yours. I don't think you need to move anything on that.
Right, like behind.
I mean, I think that's a good spot for it, but if you want to move it up a little bit, if that's what's bothering you, I mean, I think you could do that too.
Let's see what it looks like.
Just make sure you're holding it kind of towards the bottom of the stem. Yeah, I think that looks better. What do you think?
Should I cut down the top one?
No, I don't think so. But if you see, like, they're all kind of really close to each other. So what I would do is, I might just kind of arrange this for you a little bit. Just kind of leave it up a little bit.
Oh.
And then you want to kind of, sometimes if you even get on like high level, I mean, it's kind of dorky as it looks, it helps a lot. So this one I would say is too short. But you can kind of, and then you also might want like a little piece of greenery in there. So I think this one's fine. We'll just not cut it. Just kind of boost
Oh, put
that.
underneath to hold it. Oh.
Yeah. See? Still
Good idea.
Yeah, I think it's just too short that it might be kind of going down a little bit. But besides that, I mean, you're cutting it at pretty much the right size. I just kind of be careful about cutting it too short. But yeah, I mean, does that look better to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Let's start with our tulips. So kind of like what we did last time, you can either do 3 up here, 2 up here, and 4 down here, 3 up here, or 3 down here.
Okay, I have a question about
Yeah.
that. Okay, so 4 down here, that would mean 2 would be together. That's what I have an issue with. Like,
Yeah,
Like,
so-
how do you make it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that same way too, so I don't do that. But that doesn't mean it's like illegal either. So what you would want to do is try to go with like the shape, the square shape, because you got 4 points. So you just don't want any flowers to be kissing each other, which means like touching each other. If there's kind of next to each other, there's that little gap, that's okay. Just remember, if you have extra flowers, you can like maybe put like a daffodil in between that, and that would look fine. So.
Okay.
I know, I like to kind of stick with my 3s.
Oh, that was so long.
And the nice thing with tulips again is that they grow, so if you have to like cut it too short, that's okay.
It seems strange that it grows after you've cut it.
I know. It's one of those weird things, you know. Plants are really cool, and even just like different fruits too. I've heard if you take like a pineapple, take the top off, you put that in dirt, it can grow into a pineapple. Because you think that pineapples come off trees, but they actually are a bush. So that's how it grows too. It's kind of funky. Take this one.
Make that one
Keep
lower.
these all, you got your lower base pretty good here. I would say maybe make 3 up here and maybe make this one go down a little lower. And you got it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Let me know if you have any questions about that. So that one, we're not going to let go all the way down to the bottom of the vase.
Okay.
Just a little bit, and that looks good. Yeah, I think that looks really good. Do you have another 2? No. Oh, so this is the one. I would maybe move this one down a little bit more.
Okay.
And out.
You cut it in?
Nope, you just want to redirect it, so you want to put it more at an angle and more toward the bottom. Yep. So let's start with our daffodils. So we got 6 daffodils, right? So we're going to do the same thing that we did with our tulips. And just don't forget to like spin your arrangement around from time to time just to make sure that it's where the flowers are where you want them to be.
Guess that one can be done then.
It's tougher to get these suckers in, doesn't it?
It is. It's a thick stem, so it's like gravel heaped up here.
Put together. My website is sadielin.com, and then if you click on the projects tab, scroll down a little bit, you can see some of the work I've done.
Thanks.
So if you ever want inspiration. What was that?
I've never made such a nice piece arrangement.
Yeah, you guys are doing really awesome. If you want, you can add a little bit more texture. It's called lemon leaf.
Oh, lemon.
Yeah, so all you gotta do, I mean, it just adds like a nice little texture.
Mm-hmm. So
But
kind of
you cut it
hidden though,
like
right?
that. What?
Kind of hidden. I mean, you need it down in there.
Yeah, so
right?
you might want to cut that a little bit. You'd be surprised though with greenery too, is that sometimes they can last up to like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Yep. I know, I love, anytime I get the opportunity to add like another greenery in any of my arrangements, I always do it just because it just makes it look totally different almost. Oops. And the nice thing with lemon leaf too is that you can kind of twist it around. There's different segments of leaves. Down a little bit, but that's just me being nitpicky. I think it looks beautiful.
This one seems a little out there.
It might be like a little too tall.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might want to just move this around a little bit and just put like right there. That's one. I'm just going to move one flower for you. Just down a little bit more. Alright. How's it look to you?
I'm really pleased.
You're pleased?
Yeah,
Because it's kind of covering this one rose here.
okay.
So, besides that, you guys did awesome. Yeah, are you happy with yours too, Donna?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.